Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. Well, I have about 15 minutes to film this TBR video, so hopefully I can keep it short because I do sometimes like to talk and make long videos, but I gotta make dinner. So this is a short video, this is a TBR video, this is all of the things that I want to read in October. So really quickly, let's talk about the things that I definitely have to read and which will get done. The first one of those is the book for the historical romance book club that I host with my dear friend Jen from the Book Refuge called The Rake Appreciation Society. In the month of October, the book we are reading is In Bed with a Highlander by Maya Banks. We will be having a live show discussion on October 14th, I believe. October 14th at 6 p.m. MST. So I'm very excited about this one. I think this will be a fun one. I've only read one book by Maya Banks and it was Never Seduce a Scot, which I dearly loved, so I'm excited about this one. And then I have a few arcs that I definitely need to read and prioritize. These are 2 historical romance and 1 contemporary romance. The historical romances are Rules for Heiresses by Amelie Howard. This is a continuation of her series. I believe the first one was The Princess Stakes. This book comes out October 26th. I don't really know too much about this other than it's by Amelie Howard and I want to read it. So that one. Another book that I have is an arc is Duke Actually. This is by Jenny Holiday. This is actually a contemporary romance published by Avon, and the hero is a duke. So I'm not entirely sure exactly anything else about it other than it looked cute and I requested it on NetGalley and now we're gonna read it and see how it is. So I believe this is her debut also. Okay, and the last book that I have to read that is an arc that I am really excited about actually is The Lady Gets Lucky by Joanna Shoop. I have a little bit of mixed feelings about Joanna Shoop overall. I always really love her storytelling. I think she's a really great storyteller, but there's usually something that happens that makes me not love her books with my whole heart, except for some. Some of them I really do love, but I have high hopes for this one. I have heard a little bit of mutterings from people who have already read it that it's very good, so very excited about this one. I have high expectations for it, let's hope, because the cover is literally stunning. Isn't this one of the most beautiful covers you've seen all year? Like, when she released this cover, I was like, yeah, we need more of that. It's so gorgeous, right? Okay, so now let's talk about what else I want to read in the month of October. So for the last few months, well, I didn't even do a TBR video in September because I was feeling slumpy and I was like, I'm just going to mood read my way through the whole month. And that worked really, really well for me. I read things that I really enjoyed. I found some new authors. I found some new obsessions and I was excited about that. But there were a few times when I would like finish something that I really, really loved and I felt kind of directionless and I didn't really know what to pick up, where I think a TBR would have been a little helpful there. So this month I decided that I'm going to only choose books to put on my TBR. Hi, Kazi. That are on my shelves. So another thing that I've really enjoyed doing lately is just picking books at random off my shelves and reading those. He wants his toy and he can't get it. He's gonna have to wait for a few minutes. Picking books at random off my shelves and just picking them up and reading them. I've enjoyed that so much, and so that's what all of the rest of these books are. These are just books that are on my shelves that give me sort of fall October vibes or things that I think I might be in the mood for, that I also want to prioritize. I have spent so much time recently reading Kindle books, reading, audiobooks I get from the library, things like that, that I've really neglected my physical TBR, so I want to try and get back to that. So let's go through those. These aren't in any particular order. These are literally just books that I picked up off my shelves and I thought, yeah, we're gonna add that to the list. So let's go. So one of the first books that I'm actually reading right now is The Courtesan Duchess by Joanna Shoop. This is actually her first historical romance series, and this is her only Regency series. So this book, I've already started it. I love Joanna Shoop's writing, like I already talked about, right? So I'm really curious to see how I feel about this first book of hers. All that I really know about this is that this was an arranged marriage between the Duke and Duchess when she was very young. She's never actually had any physical feelings for her husband or any emotional feelings too. They sort of married and then they separated and have been married in name only. So she is trying to find a way to seduce her husband and win his love and affection. So I'm excited about this one. I think it's going to be good. Okay, and then in September, I read a Jennifer McQuiston book for the first time. It was actually the last book in this series. I really, really loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and I bought books 1 and 2, and I want to go back and read these. I posted this for Step Back Saturday recently, and Amanda Boucher commented on my picture and she's like, that's one of my favorite historicals ever. So I'm very excited to read this. I'm really hyped. I think these are beautiful and I have high hopes. I hope that these are great. So you're gonna be seeing some historicals and then some that are not historical. So now let's talk about, let's see. I've got 2 other historicals over here. I've got books everywhere. Another one I really want to get to is The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite. This book was sent to me by Avon as part of their Avon Influencer program. This is a sapphic historical romance, and I believe the only thing that I really know about this other than that is that there's something about a husband, okay, so she finds a letter. This is one of the women in here finds a letter from the Countess of Moth looking for somebody to translate a groundbreaking French astronomy text that she knows where to go. Showing up at the Countess's home, she hoped to find a challenge, but she finds instead a woman who takes her breath away. So I've heard such good things about this book. It's just absolutely beautiful. I'd really love to read a sapphic romance, so this is on my list. Another historical, and this one is one that I am extremely excited about. This one is not going to be published until 2022, but Ava Leigh sent me an arc of her newest book, which will be coming out next, I believe it's either January or February, and I'm in love with the cover, and I don't want to wait, so I'm going to read this month for sure. It's so stunning. I don't really know a ton about what this is about, other than I've seen pictures she's posted of who the hero is that she pictures, and I'm like, very much into it. I think it's going to be a good one. Okay, now let's talk about a few other types of books. So this is another book that Avon sent me. This is The X-Hex. This is written by Erin Sterling, but that is the pen name for Rachel Hawkins, who has written some YA. Like, she wrote the Hex Hall series, which I read way back in the day, and this is her adult romance. This is a witchy romance, and the basic gist of this is that she has a bad breakup, and she puts a hex on her ex. The X-Hex. But I think it sounds fun. It sounds perfect for October. I'm really excited to read this one. Okay, now this book has been sitting and languishing on my shelves for a very long time, and when Jesson read The Surviving Trace, Jesson asked friends to pick books for her to read, and I picked The Surviving Trace for her, which is the first book in the series, which is one of my favorite books. I really love that romance. I really got a hankering to go back and finish this series. I haven't finished it. This is the last book in the trilogy, and now is the time. So this book is Echoes of Time. This is a time-traveling romance that does require you to read all 3 books. So there's no happily ever after. In the first book, it's really like a trilogy. You have to read all 3 of those to get the couple's happily ever after. So I loved book 1. Book 2 I thought was okay. And because I just thought it was okay, I've been a little hesitant to go into this, but I want to read it now, so this is happening. Okay, another book on my shelf that I think is just giving me really good fall vibes, and I'm not sure entirely why I'm getting fall vibes, because this is another one I don't know a lot about, but I bought it because it's Mariana Zapata, and I love her, and this is her newest release. She is the Queen of Slow Burn. I've heard a few mixed reviews about this, but I've tried really hard not to listen to too many reviews because I want to form my own opinion of this, and I don't want to feel negatively about it because I'm really pretty hyped for this. So this one is happening this month. My stack of books is getting a little tall. Okay, and then I have 2 fantasy romances. I definitely am in more of a mood for fantasy, paranormal, historical, not a whole lot of contemporaries, but this book I bought when it came out. This is a fantasy romance by K.A. Tucker. This is A Fate of Wrath and Flame. I've also heard a few mixed things about this. I heard a lot of buzz about this when it came out, and then it kind of quieted down. So I'm pretty curious to jump in and see what I think. I believe this has a little bit more of like an urban type fantasy vibes to it. So it may be in more of a modern setting with a fantasy aspect world to it. So I'm excited about this. That's all I know about it pretty much. I think the cover's really pretty too. Okay, now this book has been on my radar for a while. I bought it because of the beautiful cover. I think it is one of the prettiest books that I've ever seen. It has some pretty interesting like end papers and chapter headings, and yeah, I don't know. I think this is Fables and Other Lies. All that I really know about this is that it's a little bit dark and it deals with curses. And it's short, so I for sure want to read this. I think this would be the perfect October read. Hopefully I'm not wrong about that. Okay, now this book showed up in one of my book hauls recently. I bought it because the cover was absolutely stunning. I saw it around Bookstagram. It is Heart in the Highlands. I've heard that this is extremely emotional. I've heard that it is a really beautiful romance. It's fairly short, and I believe this is a closed door romance, which is okay for me. Like, that's not a deal breaker. I just want to know beforehand. But yeah, I have high hopes for this. I think it's really just stunning. I think it's a really beautiful book, and they honestly, the thing that sold me is Highland and emotional. Like, I heard a lot about how emotional it was, so if this doesn't have an HEA, because this isn't published by a traditional romance publisher, I'm gonna frick out on you guys. I'm gonna be you're gonna hear my rant if this doesn't have an HEA. Don't tell me it's an emotional romance and then not give me an HEA. You know what I mean? Okay, alright, new stack of books. So this book I just recently picked up at Barnes & Noble's. I've been wanting to read this series forever. I've heard they're really sweet, really cute contemporary romances. This one is Can't Help Falling. It's the second book in the series. I don't believe that you need to read these in order. This one sounds interesting because I just saw on the back it says that the heroine sounds like she has psychic powers. And it sounds like it's maybe a second chance romance that she's no longer in this guy's good graces who asked her out because she tore him to pieces and accused him of being shallow and selfish. So I just love the cover. I think it looks so cozy and cute, and I just want to give this a try. I think it will be a good one. Okay, now these two books were actually on a recent video that I did, the end of the year book tag, but I'm putting them in October because it's spooky season and these need to happen. So I definitely want to get back into this series and catch up on it. And this is the book I'm currently on. This is the Night Hunter series by Janine Frost. This is a paranormal romance. It is a long series where not every book has a happily ever after, but it's like the story of the couple through all of the books. And the hero in here is a vampire, and he's also a vampire hunter. He's like a master vampire. And the heroine is a half vampire, and she teams up with him to hunt rogue vampires. So I really love this series. It's so fun, and I can't wait to keep reading it. And then the other book, For Sure, is the one and only Lothair by Cressley Cole. I really want to get caught up on this, especially since we just got news that Monroe, the next book, will be coming out next year, probably in January, so I have to get caught up on a few books, and it is time. October, spooky season, is the time to read about this super bad vampire. Okay, now I have a few more books here, just 3, and then we will be done. So this book has been on my shelf for a really long time. I found this in the YA section. I don't honestly know much about it. I literally bought this book because of the title, the cover. Like, look at the gorgeous cover. I don't know, like, I love simple covers like that. Like, I love the delicate feather with the forest and the font. Like, I just love it so much. And the thickness. Like, I love buying a thick book. I don't know. So I bought this because I was, like, drawn to it. And then I never read it. So this, I think this is a YA fantasy. I think there is a romance in here, but obviously it's not a romance, so it's not going to be front and center. But I just really want witchy books, and I've heard good things about this. I've heard it's a great fantasy. I've heard that it's kind of an underrated gem, so hopefully I will agree and will really enjoy this one. We shall see. Okay, and then this is another book that I have started, and it is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Cloon. This is his newest release. I started this book, and I kind of was feeling like maybe I wasn't in the right headspace for it because it deals very heavily with death of all types and loss, suicide, things like that. But I love TJ Cloon so much, and I really want to read this as soon as possible, and so this is going on the TBR because I've technically already started it, and I'm just kind of waiting for when I'm feeling okay to read it, you know what I mean? And the last book on this TBR is, of course, Credence by Penelope Douglas. I have not read this book. I know that this is either a love it or hate it type of book. I did just recently get this particular beautiful edition from Hello Lovely Box, and that was really what pushed me over the edge to read it. I know this is a very taboo romance where it has multiple men, and they may be related, but they are not related to her, and they're up in a cabin in the woods. I'm sure everyone has heard about it. It's been talked about a ton, but I've never read it because I don't know, it just never really appealed to me, to be quite honest. I don't necessarily seek out super duper taboo things, but the cover is beautiful. I just got this in the mail, and I really want to read it, so there we go. All right, would you look at that? This is a 15-minute or less video. We did it. So those are all the books that I want to read in the month of October. I would love to know what you would like to read in October, and if there's anything here you think I absolutely have to read that I should prioritize, please be sure to let me know. And if you've made it this far and you'd like to leave me a bat emoji, that would be great. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see y'all in my next video.